We'll call our Public Works Subcommittee meeting to order for today, Tuesday, January 27th. I'm City Councilor Tony Economou. To my right is District 3 Councilor John Frisolo, and to my left is at-large Councilor Satya Mitra. Also with us at the table here is Commissioner Westerling, Commissioner Raleigh from the Department of Transportation and Mobility, and Assistant Commissioner Mello from Engineering. And over in the bullpen, is our City Solicitor Alexandra Kalkunis, and behind me over my shoulder is Deputy Clerk A.J. Pottle. All right, with that, we'll go right to the approval of the minutes, or are we going to take the virtual calls first, A.J.?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So typically what we like to do is just let folks know if you would like to attend the meeting virtually, we have a couple different options for you to be able to do that. The first is a Zoom link that's listed on the City of Worcester's agendas portal. And the second is you can also call in online, and that phone number is 646-828-7666, and the access code tonight is 161-599-2759. If folks do want to be heard for any item, they can use the raise hand function in Zoom, and I will notify the chair. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 2, approval of the minutes.
Would you like a roll call, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Councilors Frisolo,
Yes.
Mitra,
Yes.
and Chairperson, Councilor Economou.
Yes, thank you. Item number 3, construction sidewalks petition. Sean Dacey requests installation of sidewalk on the south side of Shore Drive along the length of Shore Park. Unless I'm seeing things differently, I believe that's been completed. Am I accurate?
Yeah, Mr. Chair. So that sidewalk is part of a project that is being done by the Department of Parks, which also includes some stormwater improvements, and we anticipate that wrapping up over the course of this construction season.
Okay. But the sidewalk portion, from what I see, is in place already from all the way around there from Holden Street right to the Y, correct?
There may be some minor adjustments that have to be performed, but for all intents and purposes, the sidewalk portion is
Okay.
complete.
So we can withdraw the item?
Yes, sir.
Motion would be to leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. All right. Item 4, sidewalk repair petitions. Is there anybody here on item A for Councilor Christian King's request sidewalk resurfacing on Main Street from Bar Street to Pleasant? Anybody online? City Clerk?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Very good. The motion here would be to recommend adding it to the sidewalk list. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do these, I'm going to read through them and then do them all collectively. And if anybody's here to speak on any of these items, please just come up to the microphone or call in, and you'll have your opportunity. Go ahead, Fred. Just your name and city of residence, please.
Yes, Fred Nathan Worcester. So I just got a question so people will notice at home. You always have all these different items like sidewalk, resurfacing. So as a rule, how long do they stay as having been filed, and what's the length of time that, I'm sure there are going to be sidewalks that were approved by this committee or past Public Works Committee that sat in idle for like years and years and years. Is there any stats on saying somebody wanted the sidewalk and it sat for, say, 5 or 10 years?
I'll open it to one of the commissioners here, but from my recollection prior, unless things are done totally differently, it appears to me that sidewalks were done far more quickly than streets, unless you had a request in for, say, a street worth of sidewalk where it was more taxing on the overall budget. So, but Commissioner Raleigh, Commissioner Westerling, Assistant Commissioner?
Yes, so it seems like you have a fair understanding of the process. So we can take off from there and not have to go over the intricacies of it. So all of the projects that we perform as capital projects by DPW are budget dependent, right? So oftentimes we will present projects that are significant in nature that do exceed funding that's available for any given year. That's an unfortunate nature of the infrastructure we have. We work as a group collectively to go out there and find the projects that are most effective dollar for dollar and impact to residents and businesses in the city. But yeah, unfortunately, just due to funding limitations, sometimes projects will have to sit on these lists for an extended period.
Yeah. Commissioner Raleigh?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I could, I'll just add that in some cases, the most effective way to address the longer length of sidewalks, as you had mentioned, is they actually ultimately end up being constructed as part of a resurfacing project. And that's oftentimes how we can accommodate a larger budget request like that. But as Assistant Commissioner Mello said, I think in terms of the smaller projects, they tend to get taken care of pretty quickly. The longer ones will stay on the list. There isn't anything that officially ages them off of that list.
Right, thank you. Just your name and city of residence?
Yes, Elena Feshner. I'm a resident of Worcester. I'm here regarding a project on Shrewsbury Street, corner of McRae Court and Shrewsbury Street. I just wanted to be sure to come. It's a significant, the sidewalk there is in significant disrepair. We are a medical practice, and so we've already had some incidents where staff and patients have tripped. Not necessarily fault, but we're concerned about that. We
Sure.
also have bus stop there, so it is something that we feel like, I know this isn't the role of your particular committee, but next steps, I don't know what that is in terms of trying to get that repaired as soon as possible.
Sure. So, again, gentlemen, you correct me if I'm wrong. The first thing is the item has come to this committee. From this committee, we're going to approve it to go onto what's called the sidewalk pending list. And from that point there'll be a budget that'll get set. And I'll ask one of the commissioners as to when the next budget round will come forward.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would tell you to advocate to your district counselor. I believe that's District 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Advocate to your counselor there that you'd like this taken care of. Because he's going to get the pending list, he's going to get a budget, and then he'll make those selections based on that budget.
Understood.
Okay, does that answer your
answers my
question as to the
question.
next steps and
Absolutely,
process?
yes.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
The only other intricacy that I would add is, as Commissioner Raleigh has stated, smaller projects kind of get taken care of first, and then larger projects are more of a capital outlay type situation. It's worth noting that there are essentially two sidewalk lists. We have a repair list, which is for these smaller items, and then we have a actual sidewalk resurfacing or construction list. So for some of the smaller dollar items on here, we could address that with funds that DPW has available on an operational level. For these larger requests, those are more on the capital side.
Okay, very good. Still wise to reach out to your counselor to advocate for it, because each district counselor has some control over what takes place and when it takes place.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Counselor.
through you to the Commissioner, do we assess the urgency of one to the other, or it all depends on the budget? Do you kind of assess that this needs to be resurfaced sooner based on the situation, based on the urgency that she just mentioned? Is there something that we assess that way, or how do we kind of prioritize?
Counselor Raleigh.
Through the chair. So in general, the location would be assessed in terms of the amount of pedestrian activity, how busy it is, how many people are walking there, the condition of the sidewalk, whether there's any, extreme tripping hazards or those kinds of things. So I think in a general sense, the uses themselves would be considered as part of the assessment of the level of pedestrian activity and the need for the project. And then, of course, separately, as I said, the condition of the sidewalk.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
You good? All right, very good. So just while we're on the subject too, I just want people to know too, just because you don't see people here on behalf of their item, when we were discussing our agenda this evening, we decided to send out a letter to all these petitioners whose items were coming before us, whether it was sidewalk repair or street resurfacing, that they've come to city council, they've moved from city council to this committee, and now from this committee, these items here will then go to a pending list. And from that pending list, as dollars become available, the councilors, the district councilors, will have the ability to select those streets. So we've just forewarned people that of the process, so they're not wasting their time and energy coming down and sitting here for a meeting that is more procedural than anything. Commissioner Whistler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will also state that if it is a very localized problem with the sidewalk, in other words, there's one panel that's a trip hazard or there's one edge, if you reach out to the DPW in the spring when all the snow is gone, if it's small enough of an area that we can take care of in our operations with our funding, then we will do that. But if it's a long stretch of sidewalk and it requires full reconstruction and it's $50,000 or $100,000 worth of work, then that's when it falls into the category of speak to your district council.
It's already been evaluated by the DPW.
Okay,
It's not something they can prepare for.
well, I'm sorry then.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So we're on items B. I'm going to read each one of them, and then we'll take them collectively. Thomas Kentos requests sidewalk resurfacing on Fairhaven Road. Item C, Charles Rizk et al. Requests sidewalk resurfacing at 5 Rittenhouse Road. Orietta Cristo requests the grass area in front of 292 Park Ave be removed and replaced with concrete. Item F, Elena Feshner requests sidewalk resurfacing on McCray Court at the intersection of Shrewsbury Street. Items B, C, D, and F collectively, motion would be to approve adding them to the sidewalk list. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Item E, 4E, Idella Hazard requests sidewalk resurfacing in front of 75 Providence Street. Is it, Assistant Commissioner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with this particular item, we recommend leave to withdraw, and that's because this is actually work performed by a utility company. So the current patch is temporary in nature. It was performed close enough against the, end of the season that there wasn't time for a permanent patch to be installed. So in the springtime, the clock gets running, and the utility company has to get out there and put a permanent concrete patch in.
And they're aware of it, the
Yes, sir.
utility company? Okay, very good. The motion be to recommend leave to withdraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. All right, communications of the city manager. 5A, excuse me, transmitting informational communication relative to the construction progress report for the month ending November 30th. Anything further you gentlemen wish to add?
Through the chair, I don't have anything specific to add, but happy to answer any questions that may have arisen from review of the communication.
I don't have any.
Not me either.
Nope. Okay, motion be to file? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item B, transmitting informational communication relative to the report concerning the department's performance during the first snowstorm of 2025-2026 winter season. Questions? The only thing I would have on that is just, and we've spoken about it too, is the first storm, not including this one here, is just to make sure that the call is going out soon enough, so we're ahead of it and not behind it. But I am going to take this opportunity to discuss the storm we just went through, and say, really, Commissioner, to all of you, your staff, I think the crew did a fantastic job. You know, in less than 36 hours, the majority of our main arteries are down to pavement. I saw crews out there today plowing the main arteries, cleaning them up, getting into the neighborhoods, opening up the neighborhoods where they could do that too. And like I said, in a storm where you get almost 2 feet of snow in a 24-hour period, patience is required. The men and women need to get their rest so they can get back out and finish the project. And I, for one, thank them all for doing the job they've done. So, job well done. Anything you guys wish to add to the conversation?
I would echo the same, Chairperson, that the fantastic job that was done by the DPW. I got a few calls rather saying that they did a great job this time, so I'm very pleased to see that. It wasn't easy. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman, I want to commend the Commissioner and the crew of the Department of Public Works. You were out early on the storm. I appreciate that. You were out often, very visible. And, you know, the problem that I had received the last day or two with calls were that snow was back onto the street in the side streets. And in most cases, it was because of people shoveling out their car and nowhere to put the snow. So in that case, you know, obviously we made calls to the department and asked if the plow could go back and you know, replow that certain portion of the street, and it was done, and I appreciate that. I want to make that very clear and open to the general public that every call that I made in the last 24 hours was addressed, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
You may.
Couple of highlights.
Commissioner.
This was the 10th snowiest snowstorm in Worcester's history. 22.4 inches, number 10. So I just want to thank the counselors for your kind words and your support. We showed up to the point of we were there early. We showed up at 7:30 on Sunday to make sure that our trucks were loaded and we could do our circle checks. We had 72 city plows on the street and 295 private plows. So we had also had help from Mass DOT. They sent half a dozen of their trucks out to help us. So with nearly 370 pieces, made our job a lot easier. We received 19 inches of snow, and then after 32 hours, we released the crews to let them go home and get some rest. When they left, we received another 3 inches of snow. So it looked like we hadn't completed our job, but in fact we did. So we were back out there this morning. We had 40 city snow plows out with 210 contractors. We have pushed back and scraped the main lines and bus routes, and this evening we've got teams out there that are moving out into what we call Plan A, but that's our neighborhood work. So we're into the neighborhoods, pushing back, clearing snow, and salting where necessary. And I will also say that the team experimented with our new brine system.
Beautiful.
We were able to put brine down on 4 streets across the city, but the first one was Mill Street. We put the brine down, we put a combination of granular salt followed immediately by brine. It turned what was packed snow into like an oatmeal so that it was coming up off the streets in 15 minutes. And it was a 14-degree day. So the brine system is going to work. It's going to be a great tool for us. But again, my thanks and appreciation goes out to the DPW crews who worked tirelessly in the worst of conditions and away from their families, so their sacrifice is acknowledged and greatly appreciated, and our partners in the private industry.
It's a job well done. And, you know, having sat in on that 3.5 hours of that brine class a week ago, it's amazing what you learn in this job, you know? It's, who would have thought brine? Brine and all this other stuff, that the temperatures, this, that, and the other thing. But it was very interesting. I do believe it's going to be a game changer for the city once we get it fully implemented. Do you have a timeline on when we fully implement the system?
So, Mr. Chairman, only last week did they finalize the the implementation of the system. We had the supplier out who was calibrating the system so that we could get it to the 23.3% salinity.
Yep.
We've got our magnesium chemical tanks. Those are filled so that we can do the combination of both magnesium chloride, or mag -0, and our brine system. So we've got that ability. Again, it was a test that we put out there on Monday morning. So we're hoping that now that we have all of the tanks outfitted on our trucks, we've got the ability to blend and create the brine at the right chemistry, that the next snowstorm or two, we'll be able to start implementing that into our pre-treatment and also post-treatment. What's also important to recognize, and you would have learned this at the training that we did, is that brine only works above 15 degrees, when the pavement temperature is above 15 degrees. So residents won't see it out there for every storm, but when it's appropriate, we'll be applying it to the streets.
And I recall part of the conversation last week was also when the road surface is below 15 degrees, it's not worth putting down. It's a waste of money.
Correct.
So because the storm we just had too was dry and fluffy, it's better off not putting it down so we can get right down to pavement quicker.
Correct.
But very much appreciated. Thank you for all.
Just
Please.
a question through Chair to Commissioner, that is the brine mixture prepared by us or it comes already made?
No, through the chair, we replaced the old system that didn't allow for, it wasn't user-friendly. So we replaced the old system, and what we do is we have a hopper that we load just rock salt into, and the system creates the brine at the 23.3% salinity, and then it puts it into our storage tanks. So we're able to create thousands of gallons of brine per hour, but we make it right there. We batch it right there at the site on Albany Street.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good work, good work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hang on one second before we go any further. Ms. Hazard? I just wanted to, did you want to, we went past your item already. Is there anything you'd like to add to your item? I'll allow you to speak, of course. Just your name and city of residence, please.
Okay. Idella Hazard, 75 Providence Street. The reason it was resurfaced like that with the tar is because there was sewer work piping, and they left it as it is now in July of 2024. And I thought that the ARP funding was going to take care of it. And I put in September of 2025 to have it coincide with the rest of the sidewalk. So I would love to see the work done if it's at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you. So the item was recommended to leave to withdraw. The proper people have been notified, and because of where we are in the season, it'll come up for repair as soon as the weather breaks. Okay? Thank you. Item B, motion to file. All those in favor? Opposed, so ordered. Item C, transmitting informational communication relative to an update on the recent water main breaks. Commissioner here, I was there when the first big one went down on, was it Norton Drive possibly?
No, no.
Yeah, and that was just, you know, again, when you see the men and women of DPW in action, they're working with a purpose, and it's great to see them, you know, in their roles, and they know exactly what they're doing. Even though these tanks emptied out, they knew how to shut a section of roadway down quick, backtrack it, isolate the break, get the tanks back filling up with water, and within 5 or 6 hours, we had running water again. Granted, it wasn't perfect yet, but there was water running. So that, again, that's a big commitment from our team to get the work done. And then let alone the other break right at the end of the off-ramp there at 190 and Shore Drive, which created even further problems. And you probably caught one of the coldest 2-week periods we've had. And again, very commendable on the work that's been done, along with all the other breaks around the city. So again, good work to our team. I feel they were on it, and I feel they did a great job.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Of course.
I truly appreciate your kind words and acknowledgement to the hard work. This city has an incredibly dedicated Department of Public Works, 370 members of the DPW. They show up every day to do their best for the city and provide those essential services. You highlight the fact that it was the worst of conditions. It rained. The DPW not only responded and did what was necessary for those Norton Drive frontage and then back to Norton Drive, but they had the contacts to be able to bring in a contractor to help them. And then through that period, we had 19 water main breaks until we were able to figure the system out and what was going on. I wish that I had brought that piece of water main that we found on Norton Drive. It was paper thin.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you know, I feel confident speaking on it because I was literally there on site, right? So, you know, one of the city team members came up to me and she said, "Would you like to come take a closer look?" So he brought me right down to the pipe, and you could visualize it, right? You could see it. That pipe was probably, I don't know, it was a 24-inch pipe maybe? You know, it was a good-sized pipe. And to see how it thinned out, reasoning on that while we're there?
There, Mr. Chairman, there must be something in the soils that we have not yet figured out.
Yep.
Something in the soils that created just a corrosive environment for that pipe, because the pipe was only put in the mid-'70s.
Right, not that old. But again, great work. I appreciate it. Gentlemen, hang on. Anything else on that?
I'm good.
Just again, your name and city residence.
Fred Nathan Worcester. So, just curious, you know, little food for thought. Given all the overtime that must have gone in to repair all these pipe breaks, I think, and I'm sure the committee here feels, and I'm sure even the commissioner feels, that in a lot of ways, Worcester is walking on eggshells. We are an old city, and I don't know if you guys keep stats on how old most of the infrastructure in Worcester is, but I would care to wager that in most of the city, that most of the infrastructure is probably more than 50 or 60 years old significantly. Just food for thought.
No, I'm sure it is, and you can only do so much. You know, it's not cheap work, and again, I'm not here making excuses, just the reality of it all, but I've seen a number of different pipe structures over the years, which is always interesting to see the history, but thank you for your comments. Item C, motion to file. All those in favor? Opposed? So voted. Item D, transmitting informational communication relative to the construction status of ongoing and forthcoming street and sidewalk projects as of October 31st. Questions from anyone?
I'm good.
How are we looking on things? I'm just going to give you an observation. It just appears to me that things take longer to get completed. I don't know if that's fair or an accurate statement. And one of the other things that has bothered me the most probably watching some of the construction projects, and I don't know what leverage we have with contractors. I'm going to use Burncoat Street, for instance. They tore up the whole length of Burncoat Street from the Summit to Randolph Road, the sidewalks. And then it just took the mad rush was on in the fall, not even before school, but before winter. I don't know. I'm of the opinion, only do what you can finish in a timely and fair fashion. Because I think it's not fair for the residents, it's not fair for the people who walk or commute, the kids that go to school to have to deal with dodging construction. Just my opinion, my observation as I watch that all go down. Do we have any leverage with contractors? Do we have anything in our contracts? Is it an open contract?
Through the chair, yes. So we have a number of tools that we can use to get contractors, excuse me, to perform work within certain schedules. The first of them is prescribing a schedule in the contract, and the second would be liquidated damages, right? Traditionally, liquidated damages are not something that the city has pursued just due to the fact that it's, in practice, not something that really works out in anyone's favor. In this particular case, there was a schedule restriction that required the contractor to be done before school. If they were sitting here with us right now, they would tell you that they blew that. So, you know, they worked pretty hard to compensate for that, but I think if they were sitting here with you right now, you'd get an honest admission that, no, they did not hold their end of the deal.
Yeah. So, so even like Cheyenne Road. Cheyenne Road, I'm gonna, it's probably, I don't know what they're doing there, maybe a quarter of a mile, maybe a little bit more of Cheyenne Road. They dug it up early in the season, didn't see much activity during the course of the summer months. And then now they come back late in the season, put their base coat of asphalt down, and they, I don't know what you guys call it, but it looks like they shimmied asphalt up to all the catch basins and all the manhole covers to get through the season. In my eyes, that's a project that should be in and out. It's not a big project. I didn't see them replacing infrastructure underneath. It just looked like common road work. And it's like, for it to take from April to November and still not being done, I think is not right. I don't think we should stand for it. And again, I ask you guys, I'll ask the law department too, what are our options in our contracts to hold the contractors, hold their feet to the fire on getting these jobs done?
So, if this isn't to speak flippantly, but in reality, we can put any sort of restriction in the contract that we want to. The opposite side is that we're going to pay for it. So as soon as we start putting lots of requirements in contracts that say X road needs to be complete within 90 days, or you need to complete 1,000 feet of road, or you can only have X number of feet of road open, our contracts become more expensive. So we've had to do a lot of considering, and thankfully we've had a lot of members from our team that have spent their career in the private sector as well as in the public sector. So we have kind of both views. So we spend a lot of time considering exactly what contract requirements we want to put in place to guarantee that the city gets the best value for its money, but also don't leave us entirely exposed. So particular to Cheyenne Road, it is news to me that those were left in donuts. And if that, I'm going to have that checked as soon as possible. If that is the case, that contractor is going to have a conversation with us, because that is not the way that projects are supposed to be left over the winter.
Well, that's how I see it. If that's the contractor's finish work, then if it were me writing the check, I would not be writing that check. The work is of poor quality then. But my sense is that it's not complete.
No, I believe you're correct, but we'll take a look at the donuts, because that shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, that's my only gripe. You know, I think once we get it done, it gets done right. But I think it's not fair to the people to go through, you know, another full season and then get into the next season for such a, I don't consider that a big distance of road. So,
No.
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
if I could just
Commissioner.
ask Mr. Mello to talk about we have the contracts out on the streets earlier this season. Do you want to highlight that?
Yep, correct. So I can actually give you some stats as well as to
Sure.
regarding our contract completeness. So as part of this report, we went and took a look at all streets selected since 2019. So since 2019, 232 streets have been selected for resurfacing. Of those, 88% have been completed, which is leaves 200. So it's 206 streets completed. Of the number of streets that were not completed, 86% of those are under contract. So we're holding pretty tight with our schedules. And then typically the reason the street is not under contract is it is on a utility hold. And we have 61 streets right now that have been selected for resurfacing that we're awaiting the utility company to perform their work. So, as the commissioner said, we've kind of changed up over the course of the year with assistance from our partners over the Department of Transportation and Mobility, how we go about contracting work. So, in the past, what would occur is we were placing contracts out to bid in the springtime that were dependent on funding from the coming fiscal year. So what would happen is that we would have projects that were open that a bid could not be awarded as there was not money against them. So then we were starting projects kind of constantly in mid-July and August, and that's kind of what led to, as you saw last year, because this is one of those projects being started on a very short time frame and contractors are unable to complete them. So in this season, our contracts are already off DPW's desk, and we're looking to bid those as soon as possible. And we're anticipating now starting in actually April or early May, and that'll give us a massive advantage, and we'll have our construction contracts performed as they should be.
Yes, thank you. Councilor Frizzolo.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask, but you mentioned, you have the streets for this upcoming construction season. I had talked to the commissioner when we first met and gave him a couple streets that I thought were arterial streets that needed some attention, and I was wondering, how do we factor that in? Is it possible to get them done this construction season, or how does that work? As a new council, I'm just asking for some edification, please.
So, outside, would you mind sharing which particular streets, or?
Massasoit Road is one that I know is scheduled to be done, so that was one I spoke to him about. But Lake Ave, a portion of Lake Ave is, it's a highly traveled road, and it's in need of some attention. That would be one. And another one I mentioned was Vernon Street, a portion of Vernon Street, not all of it, but a portion definitely needs some attention, and I just was curious how that would work.
Yep, so we have a number of ways these are taken care of. So Massasoit, that is a capital project that's already out to, the bid has been awarded. We had a number of design technicalities that had to be overcome, but I think that between us and Department of Transportation and Mobility, we've kind of peaked that mountain now and ready to go. So I anticipate construction starting on that in the springtime. We actually had a meeting with the contractor about that a week or two ago, and they're ready to roll, so that's great. With respect to Lake Ave, that's been on our radar for some long patch work. So we have a number of different types of work that are performed. So we have, the full-on street resurfacing, but we also have some work that's simply long patching. So a number of the spots that you're most likely speaking about on Lake Ave, we have under consideration for some patching work this year. Vernon Street, we can go and take a look at that if there's, particular areas that we perhaps could include in a patching contract. Excuse me. When it comes to our general selection of arterial roads, that is a cooperative between us and Transportation and Mobility. Generally, any sort of selection process when it comes to roads and sidewalks is a cooperative between 76 and 20 East Worcester. So we've got a nice partnership going there. This year, the only arterial work that we'll be doing outside of Massasoit and Highland Street is we'll be performing some work on Grafton Street due to an award we received from the Mass Department of Transportation. We're going to be resurfacing about 2 miles out there, so that's a pretty nice basket for the city. This particular year, outside of Highland, Massasoit, and Grafton, and any sort of long patching work, we're going to hold off on our traditional arterial work to give our friends over at DTM a year to get ahead of us. Because kind of a challenge that we've had for the past few years is DTM was born and then handed a ton of stuff and then told go now. And that does unfortunately give us enough gap, and we've been kind of stepping on each other's toes. This break this year where we only have Massasoit, Grafton, and Highland will allow us to give them some room, and then next year we're going to be picking back up with the traditional load of arterial work that we do. We have a number of streets that are getting to be in poor condition. Commissioner, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Hope Ave, I believe, is towards the top of that list. And I think we also have some sections of South Main Street they're going to be starting to consider as well.
Sagamore Road. Bottom half.
So, but yeah, there's we take a lot of consideration arterials. They're some of our highest, they are our most highly traveled roads, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Rowley?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. Just wanted to add to what Assistant Commissioner Mello was saying in terms of the arterials in particular. One of the things that we're working on in partnership with DPW through the new pavement management program is to identify and program these arterials further in advance so that by the time they go to construction, there's been enough time to think about all of the aspects that need to be think about. If there's utility work that needs to get done, that's gotten done. If there's design work that needs to be done, there's time to do that. You know, if there's community outreach effort because there's some sort of safety improvements that need to be incorporated or something like that, there's time to do that. So really not just thinking about, hey, what are we going to do next year, but what are we planning on doing for the next 5 years? And recognizing that, sure, those plans 4 or 5 years out may be a little bit in flux still, but trying to get those projects lined up earlier so that there's the time to accomplish all of that type of work, and then there are less unexpected or unforeseen circumstances.
How flexible are the utilities, or are we at the mercy of the utility companies when it comes to our road work or sidewalk work?
We're at each other's mercy. So we have spent a lot of time developing better relationships with the utility companies, and I think that's starting to really come to fruition. As an example, on Moreland Street, Eversource has been out there doing a bunch of work to get ahead of our upcoming efforts out there. And their patch had really become pretty degraded. So we had told them, hey guys, whatever work you're going to be doing, please wrap it up. We have some patching work to do ourselves. And they said, hey, just a heads up, let us do what we have to do first. And it actually ended up taking care of a lot of the areas that we were going to address. So it allowed us to take our money and use it somewhere else on Moreland Street. So, you know, we have a pretty good relationship with the utility groups. It's not to their advantage to go in and trench a brand new road because then they're going to be paving a whole brand new road. So they're pretty diligent about it.
I'm hoping next month in our committee to have the utilities before us. You know, of course, I welcome all three of us to be here for that discussion. A lot of it just for the historical value of it, and also who's responsible for what when roads are patched from utility work, and how long is there a quote-unquote warranty period for the work that's being done. So I think that will be important for the people to understand, as well as ourselves. But thank you. Item D, be the motion to file. All those in favor? Opposed? So ordered. Item E, transmitting informational communication relative to rental agreements for municipal properties. I don't have any further questions on it. I know it's been something that's been used where, you know, whether we have vacant space and we can rent it out to whomever to generate income for that space. I think it's worked out fairly well from what I understand over time.
Through the chair, yes, this was really geared towards Worcester Public Schools, but they have a process. There's other properties that might, you know, generate some revenue that we just aren't aware, but this is what we could produce at the time in October, so.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen?
No, I'm good.
Motion to file. All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Item F, transmitting informational communication relative to Moreland Street. I believe you touched on that. Do you have any further timelines or what people should expect as we move forward?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this particular item had a few orders associated with it. So just to kind of fill everyone in, the PCI on Moreland Street, or how we consider the pavement, is between 44 and 65 on a score of 100, so that's pretty beat up. There's been a bunch of different work out on Moreland Street that's led to that, in addition to the road just being kind of in a not great place to have a road. There are also a number of other subsurface utilities out there, 12-inch water main, a 42-inch water main, an 8-inch sewer, and a number of drains and gas. So we have some work in the Department of Public Works to do to improve a number of those utilities out there. We've included money in our capital budget for FY27 upcoming to begin the design efforts. And then we're looking at FY '28 to do utility work and FY '29 to do roadway. So we've got that kind of scheduled out in our capital budget. In the fall of last year, DPW and Eversource addressed a number of the worst areas out there, so that's being taken care of. And the Department of Transportation and Mobility, I don't want to speak for Commissioner Raleigh, but has already begun a number of their design efforts out there as well. So I think that project is pretty well on track. That is a very large road. It serves a lot of traffic. It is one of the only east to west roads in that part of the city, and it has a lot of significant utilities in it. So
Will that be done in its entirety, from Salisbury to Pleasant?
So the utilities on the road do not need to be addressed across the entirety of the road, thankfully. It's mostly, sections or spots, which is great. We are looking to resurface the entirety of the road. How these things all play out over scheduling of seasons in terms of both construction and budget is somewhat fluid, but yes, that's the intent.
Okay, very good. Anthony, do you want to add anything to that, Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So no, the one thing I would add is that there are 2 locations where there had been pedestrian safety projects that had been recommended by the Traffic and Parking Committee previously. So those are under design now, and they'll be incorporated into the resurfacing project when it's constructed.
Okay,
And they're really more about getting people safely across the street than up and down the entire corridor.
sure. Anything else, gentlemen? Motion to file? All those in favor? Opposed? So ordered. Transmitting information, communication relative to an update on the Keep Worcester Clean program. Anything you guys want to add to that? The only thing I would say too, how are the Woo-bins working out? Are they working out well?
Through the chair, that is something that is handled and managed through the Department of Sustainability and Resilience. We do partner with them because it is an amendment to the Casella contract for
Yeah.
curbside collection. I would say that it's working well. There are some Woo bins that are more widely used than others. And the DSR, they are looking at those locations and where they might relocate them. They're also challenged with folks that are using the Woo bins as a drop-off for their residential trash. So they're also looking at how to manage that best, and perhaps it's relocating them away from areas where they think that the folks might be generating the trash.
Overall, a great job. It's amazing what gets done. People don't realize it, right? But when you read all the information that's brought forth, how much just litter, metals, this, that, and the other thing. It's amazing that we get it done, and and unfortunately, people do as they choose, right? We'll leave it at that. All right. Any other questions? Motion to file. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Item H, transmit informational communication relative to the Vernon Connected study. So I don't know much of the background on this, other than what I read. I don't know if you have any more you want to enlighten us with that help me understand it better and the people up in the area?
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to do so. So the Vernon Connected study is a planning level study. It's because of the regional nature of I-290, it's being conducted by the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission, which is our regional planning agency for this, for the greater Worcester area, but also in partnership with Mass DOT and with the city. And the study is really looking at a couple of different things. Kind of the overall issue it's trying to address is, back when I-290 was first constructed, it provided some real important mobility benefits to the city, but it also created some unintended damage to the neighborhoods, right, that it passes through, separating the communities on Grafton Hill, Vernon Hill, Union Hill from what we refer to as the Canal District and Green Island today. So those used to be cohesive neighborhoods, and now they've got this barrier between them. So that has negative consequences on the people that live near I-290, has negative consequences on just the ability to travel back and forth between each side. And then at the centerpiece of that, we have the Vernon Street Bridge, which is a facility that is aging. It's going to need to be replaced someday. And it's functionally not performing as well as you'd hope it would be too. A lot of the traffic congestion that you see really on both sides, but especially backing up, onto Vernon Street, up the hill, is associated with all the different things we're asking that relatively small overpass to do today, and it's not well equipped to do that. So this is an early step in the process in terms of thinking about how do you address that, and what other ways can we help re-knit these communities together to lessen the impacts of the fact that there's an interstate highway that's separating them. At this stage of the project, the consultant who's working on it has basically been primarily focused on learning about the communities and learning about the corridor. So there's been 2 public informational meetings so far, a series of pop-up events around the community, and that's what we're finding is many times is a more effective way to engage with people. It's sometimes hard to convince folks to come out to a meeting until you actually have a concrete proposal that you're suggesting, but if you can get out to community events and meet people where they are, it's a good way to have conversations. So now they're turning their attention to starting to think about alternatives and options for addressing some of the problems that have been identified. There are upcoming meetings that are tentatively planned for April, and I believe it's July. Those haven't been scheduled yet, so I can't give you an exact date, but that's something to look forward to. The one in April or thereabouts will be particularly important to start to hear some of the ideas that the consultant team has in terms of how to address these problems. So, I just encourage folks and counselors to keep an eye on that. We'll endeavor to provide another communication when that meeting is scheduled so that you're aware of it, and hopefully maximize participation in that study.
Yes, Councilor Frizzolo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, Commissioner Raleigh, we spoke about this when we met. Born and raised on Union Hill, Jefferson Street is the first street you come up over the bridge. So well aware of, the history of that area, and I look forward to those meetings. I want to make sure I'm available to attend, and because, I want the general public to know I see it, and it's one of the reasons why I ran for this seat, is the traffic flow issues up Vernon Street, up Winthrop Street, sometimes through the traffic light at Providence and Winthrop. It's just, a nightmare, and it happens different times during the day. It's not, it's not just that rush hour. And, I'm aware of, the bridge and the lights and, left-hand turn on to 290 there that are issues that stack that back that far. And I'm tired of engineers from Boston telling us what should happen. We should have input. And I'm glad to know that we're having those meetings, and I look forward to being there. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I'm
You're
good.
Okay. All right. Having heard nothing else on those, I'm just going to hold it just to keep it on our agenda. So motion would be to hold item H. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Item I, transmitting informational communication relative to the construction status of ongoing and forthcoming street and sidewalk projects as of August 31st, 2025. To me, it was pretty straightforward. I don't have anything to add to it. Gentlemen?
Nope.
Motion would be to
Fine.
file. All those in
So
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. And item J, transmitting informational communication relative to maintenance scheduled over the last 4 years at the Ernest A. Johnson Tunnel in an agreement for the use of the tunnel as a staging area. Any questions? I'm just going to hold that, just as the project is still ongoing, just so we have it before us if we need to bring it up again in the future.
Mr. Chair, if you would like,
Yes.
I have some information
Yes,
prepared.
please
if you'd
do.
like a little bit of a fill-in.
Absolutely.
So we received a number of requests for information on this item. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a number. So going through them all, the number 13892 was concerning maintenance schedule for the tunnel and maintenance considerations. So in 2022 and 2023, a structural analysis was performed and completed. As part of this, the ceramic tiles were removed from the tunnel. Under those, we discovered asbestos, which had to be abated. The consultant identified cracking and a number of other pretty significant concrete issues with the ceiling and the walls of the tunnel. And now we're going on about 2.5 years ago. Repair was estimated between $4 and $7.5 million, whereas permanent closure of the tunnel was about 150.
How much was the permanent closure?
150,000. And since that point in time, the city has come to an agreement with a developer who has built a structure over that. And as part of that, the developer has agreed to perform the waterproofing required in the tunnel. So they did some of that in there. Let's see, the next item was report dealing how the tunnel was dismantled, and I think we've just kind of went over some of that. And then basically the tunnel was dismantled in such a way that was because of the asbestos, right?
Sure.
Once we find it, we have to get rid of it. We can't leave it in nature anymore. And then the last order was concerning discussing a community benefit agreement and partnership with Wind Development to reopen the tunnel, and that's not something that we have any records of or have performed, so.
Okay, so that hasn't proceeded in any manner forward.
No, and really, to my understanding, the nature of construction above the tunnel would not leave it in such a situation that reopening would be easy or not require significant financial contributions that I think myself, Commissioner Westerling, Commissioner Raleigh would all advocate against, considering the age of some of our other infrastructure.
Okay. Well, with that, I am going to hold it just so it stays on the agenda should something come up as they're doing their construction work there. Just one question on that. How much longer do you guys estimate, do you know, on that lane closure coming around the bend there? Do you happen to have any idea, estimated timeline? I'm assuming it's more just to get the exterior of the building squared away?
Mr. Chair, yes, that is a difficult maneuver that we were certainly concerned about when we were reviewing the construction management plan. It was necessary for both the structural work to get the piers in for the building, and I believe it'll be necessary for the facade as well. I don't have a time frame for that, but we can reach out to the building department and see if they have an idea and report back.
Yeah, as a chairman's order, just to have that timeline furthered out into the future would be appreciated. All those in favor?
All right.
Opposed? So ordered. All right, having heard all our items on our agenda, the motion would be to adjourn.
So move.
We'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.